Might be some rain coming through. We expect rain soon. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the one, the only, welcome to the FMA World Endurance Championship. And we're here at the beautiful circuit of Road Atlanta for our week 10. It's round 10 of the championship out of 12, and we're in for an exciting treat. 2.5 miles, 12 turns, an increase in elevation, and you have to try and keep an eye out for the change of camber, multi-class racing, and what better way around the circuit that does hold a Petit Le Mans, a 12-hour endurance here on iRacing. Joining me on the box, we've got Jarvis Coyd, who will be pushing the buttons behind the scenes and giving us a sight to behold. Jarvis, round 10, can you believe it? We're getting closer and closer to the end of the championship, but it's now critical for scoring points.
Yes, indeed. Road Atlanta, an iconic racetrack in its own right, and the last two rounds also very iconic. Round 10, we're almost to the end for this championship, and it's going to be a fun one. And this is what our race format is at the moment. 3 laps of qualifying, that's what the drivers have been doing so far. Unlimited tyre sets, no fast repairs, 20 to 10. With no DQ, so if you get 20 into the points, you get a driver penalty. Fixed setup and with 50% fuel.
And to deal with the race that's going to be 60-minute long, you're going to have to think about your fuel strategy. Thankfully, the track itself does lend a hand to lift and coast, but do you have enough space to get it done, especially as you wind your way through the S's currently on screen? But that being said, let's take a look at what our points are looking like, because, well, we're in for a rather exciting one. Every driver hoping to get a solid run and up through the order. Our qualifying still going to be finishing up at the moment, but out in the points, it's been a manic drive for the GT3s. Michael O'Dell leads out on 295 laps completed, but his total points are 334. With Macon Gazzoni in second, Gustav Ferreira holds on to third. The two Brazilians looking to take the fight to O'Dell. Anthony Sorrentino finds himself leading out the GDP on 362 points with Dustin Wells, and Jacob Dick holds on to third place with 255. Now, that being said, we got to touch on to a critical matter. Anthony Sorrentino, before this server even opened up, started talking about possible internet connection problems, and, well, he managed to get right to the line. He qualified up in the front, but for a driver that had gremlins right before the race, well, you've got to try and keep a very close eye on what's going to happen here. He's joined by Brian Scott and Dustin Wells in the top 3. That is going to be the incredible drive. But as they line up behind the safety car, let's take a look at the grid. It's Anthony Sorrentino holding on for first place. Brian Scott in second. We'll be chasing him down in the Porsche. Dustin Wells returns in the Cadillac, and I don't think he's in the Wendy colors this time round. Paxton fifth will hold on to that 4th position. Moving down to 5th place, Matt Mars going and showing what the wraps are looking like, and I've got to say, absolutely chef's kiss. While PJ Wetline finds himself in 6th position. 7th goes to Cody Deek. How's it looking for our GT3s, Jarvis?
Cameron Iverson taking pole position after last week's debut win, and it will be Michael O'Dell P2 in 9th overall. Brandon Anderson in 3rd place in the Ford with the All-American colours. There's Alex Berry making his debut in GT3 for this season with John Daniels in 5th place. Gustavo Ferreira, Macon Gazzoni in the Ford Mustang and Lamborghini GT3 for P6, P7. Timothy Dunn and Jeremy Escherman, P8 and P9. Nigel Steele, P10, and Vieira dos Santos in P11. And the last car on the grid is Ryan Peters, without a time on the board in qualifying.
Going to be an interesting one, and drivers are going to be looking to fight out that little bit further. But it's now time to generate a little bit of heat into the tires, a little bit of heat into the brakes, and also get your head in the game as they will start making their way around the safety car. This is Road Atlanta. This is an exciting circuit. And you go back a good couple of years when we started doing 12-hour enduros for the early just after 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, where the first Dallara P217 came out and was a dominating factor against the GTEs around this circuit. Well, this year, it has been the hypercars and the GT3s, along with the LMP2s, going and duking it out. But tonight, we've got 2 classes incredibly close in championship points. And with that being said, the teams looking to make it work here tonight. They're Apex Hunters going to be aiming for a solid result and hoping to stay at the sharp end of the field. But if you're down in the championships, this is going to be a definite time to get a solid push. I mean, Macon Gazzoni is 22 points behind Michael O'Dell in the championship. If Michael has a poor run here tonight and Macon Gazzoni can get this solid run out of it, he'll do everything he can to move forward. Gustav Ferrero's 8 points behind Macon Gazzoni. John Daniels, who's been the most consistent in every race, he's found himself just keeping within the top 10, yet to get a top 5, might I add, holds on 13 points behind Gustav Ferreira, who holds on to 3rd. So it's just about consistency, and that tells you something. Hasn't gotten the top 5 and finds himself 4th in the championship. It's going to be a good one to keep an eye out for. Dustin Wells, 82 points away from Sorrentino. Jacob Dick, 25 points away from Wells. Ryder Poe will be looking to try and see if he can move up through the order, but here tonight, he's missing out around, and once again, missing out crucial points in the championship as our safety car rounds and pulls into the pits. It's going to be green flag racing as our hypercars go under green. Sorrentino hoping for a stellar drive as Brian Scott chases him down around the outside into turn 1. Keeping it nice and close as they filter their way through. Cold tires and cold brakes, change of elevation. It's going to make life a little bit more interesting as our GT3s out and about. It's Cameron Iverson who finds himself in the lead, runs out wide. Michael O'Dell, who's now taken the chance to jump into the Mercedes, goes around a little bit close between the two. A bit of door banging. Thankfully, no real impact there, but Michael O'Dell fallen down to 11th position, 4th in class, and that just promoted Brandon Anderson and Alex Valeri up into 2nd and 3rd. Now, Alex trying to go immediately onto the attack, and I did see a slight bit of damage to Gustav Ferrero's front right on the nose of his car, so definitely he's going to be feeling it during the course of this race, and we'll be thinking, right, what's the game plan as we go a bit further back? It has been a manic run. Nigel Steele on a solid charge at the moment, taking some of the momentum he's had with the FMA Next Gen series. He's hoping to carry it through, but Felipe Averia dos Santos finding that he's getting the drive. down the long straight onto the brakes, and you can see how the BMW of Cameron was able to just lock in that inside line and just foul up the likes of Brandon Anderson. Alex Bahiri just battling to find his way through. And Jarvis, I'm not going to be the one to say that we've got a big problem coming on the way, but I'm looking at that sunset. I'm looking at, well, it's sunrise in, well, actually, yes, it's a sunrise here at Road Atlanta. It's just gone past 8, and that's going to be in the eyes.
Yes, indeed. The sun is going to be a bit of a nuisance in these early moments in the race. Of course, that will subside, but for now, as we see Cody Deek in the Porsche 963 going off track and getting overtaken by a couple of the race leaders in GT3, so that's going to happen a little bit. We've got a little bit of a straight though for the GT3s to subside against the 963. However, regardless, yes, I agree.
Well, quick flash of the lights as he comes blaring through, and a big mistake for Timothy Dunn, losing the rear end of his car. And well, for Vice City, he's putting all the lines down out on the track here at Atlanta. Not really what you want to have, and unfortunately going to throw him down the order. Michael O'Dell trying to make up a bit of time here, up into third. The championship leader in the GT3s now feeling the pressure, and one has to wonder if maybe that little hiatus to go over to the LDMH cars was well worth it. Well, at the moment, it might not have been a good call early on the season. He's got to try and get past Brandon and Cameron as, Dustin Wells locks up, finds himself in the dirt. And you know why he's locking up? Jarvis, do you have any idea of why he's locking up?
Yeah, so probably a bit too high of a brake bias, braking a little bit later. And there's a little bit, if you break the braking points in the GTP around Road Atlanta, although they may be kind of obvious, it's like the first white line they usually brake at, but brake bias being a little bit too high, that would do it for you right there.
I love that you went straight to the technicalities, but I'm going to make it basic. It's because he's not wearing the Wendy's colors. That's it.
Oh.
Not in the Wendy's colors. That's why he fell off the circuit.
I agree. The Wendy's colors. That's exactly what it is. I completely agree.
There we go. As Alex Bahiri trying to fight his way back into that third place. Absolutely hunting down Michael O'Dell. He's trying to close the distance to Brandon Anderson and Cameron Iverson. So far, the quickest out on the GT3 field moving forward. John Daniels going in and having a bit of fun out there. But interesting to see John Daniels not in an all-red car like we've seen in the previous races, but adding a bit of purple, a little bit of a flare. Gotta say, the new colors on that Aston Martin really do shine. However, it is shining a little too bright for Ryan Peters, who's just ahead of him in that Ford Mustang GT3. Right behind, Nigel Steele trying to make up some time. So a little bit of a difficult start for some of the drivers. And with the championship hanging in the balance, it's now a game to move forward. And you can see how both cars got upset, bouncing over the curbs. John Daniels gets past Ryan Peters, but only by a hair, and manages to clear on through. Ryan Peters gets a poor drive, and immediately Nigel Steele gets the pressure on, trying to find a route through. It is going to be an absolutely manic run. But this is a short circuit, and something we do have to touch on, because not too distant future, our hypercars are going to have to fight through these very same battles we see out on circuit. And for Anthony Sorrentino, he does not want to lose out too much time. Brian Scott holds on for second place, but Sorrentino really carving his way through the pack with Brian Scott next to come through. He's bringing Matt Mars for a bit of company, closing down at a rate of knots. Alex Bahiri finding he's got the fastest lap time in the GT3, holding on to fourth position. But the long straightaway leans in favor for the hypercars. But when it comes to braking, you can see how the GT3s, with the addition of ABS to go and help them, can brake a lot later and get a better corner exit than these hypercars. And unfortunately, makes it a little bit more difficult as Dustin Wells goes for the inside. There we go. Here comes the sun. Will be playing over the radio. That is for certain.
That is quite the glare. I mean, of course, you have your iRacing graphics settings. You may be able to turn that off. That's a HDR setting right there if you have that. But regardless, apart from graphics settings, John Daniels not having the best of starts. He started, and I believe it was P5, and he's all the way down in P10 in the Aston Martin. He'll look to try to climb back up. He's currently in 9th place after overtaking Ryan Peters, but it's a 1.6 second gap to the cars in front, and in front is Vieira dos Santos in the only Porsche 911 GT3 on the grid here today.
Trying to keep it all alive at the moment, seeing what he can do. Felipe Vieira dos Santos finds himself 12th in the championship and still finding some time to move up through the order. He's looking to maximize the points here at the moment because Nathan Fuller and Joshua DeFreen, who are the 2 drivers ahead of him in the championship, are not here tonight. So for Felipe Vieira dos Santos, he's going to be hoping for a solid run and to bring the Brazilian flag a little bit closer to Gustavo Ferreira and Macon Gazzoni, his fellow countrymen who are further up the head. Jeremy Eshelman going and splitting them. Nigel Steele holding the charge in the Ford Mustang, trying to close up the gap. You can see how it's just a difficult run. Drivers will be switching up their focus now from solid attacks. Oh, as we see a bit of a mistake coming out. John Daniels there, touching onto the dirt. Drivers will have to consider their options of saving a bit of fuel, saving the tires, and seeing what they can do in this race. However, we've got to also talk about the big factor in the room. This circuit is synonymous for picking up 1Xs, especially up at the top of the track. That double right-hander can easily put a foot wrong and pick up a 1X. Also, navigating your way through these 2 corners that we have on screen, that's immediate left-hander. If you take the curb too much, you'll pick up with an incident point. If you take the right-hander too much, you'll pick up a slowdown, which will follow you up for the final corner and cost you a bit of time. And we've already spoken, there's not a lot of incident points between them. It's 20 and so your first drive-through, and that is going to be a problem. The pit stops as well are going to be an interesting one, because as you exit the pits, you're getting straight into the braking zone for the next corner up in towards the hairpin at the top. That's going to be turn 2, turn 3. That will make life a little bit more difficult. Alex Baheri, though, keeps a solid drive right into the back of Michael O'Dell. Had to really climb on the anchors a bit harder than he planned, and this fouled up that little bit of drive down the straightaway. It's going to have to rely on the slipstream. No easy way by Matt Mars, struggling to get his car around the GT3s. As he clears past Daniels, he's hunting down to try and get a little bit further up. Brian Scott, within reach of him at the moment, will be a big target to go for. As our GTPs are just having a great time there. But Jarvis, your thoughts so far on a relatively clean start and a clean run here at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, nobody has crashed so far in these in the early parts of this race. It's just been 9.5 minutes now, and the main part of it is that the top 4 are pulling away from 5th and below. Gazzoni in 5th place in the Huracan, brand new to him. He hasn't driven the Huracan at all this season. He's in 5th place, 6.7 seconds away. So you can see, being under slipstream in the cars in front of you, especially around Road Atlanta where there's multiple places where you can gain in a straight line, does benefit as we see Sorrentino get past our 3rd and 4th place sitters, and a bit of contact between O'Dell and Sorrentino heading into the next part of the track. My goodness me. It is... The main part of the GTP versus GTP braking zones is the fact of the GT3s being able to brake a lot more later, carrying less speed comparing to the GTPs, and that will impact how they get past them, especially around this racetrack.
It's always a tough one, and that's where we also saw that Michael O'Dell got fouled up, and then instantly Alex tried to see if he could push on through with Anthony Sorrentino. However, just didn't get that drive up through turn 6 and turn 7 at the top of the hill. However, it's going to be a clean run as Brian Anderson now finds himself with the fastest lap time of the race in the GT3s, while Sorrentino still holds on for his run. But the fight out for the GTP class, Matt Mars, seeing Scott ahead of him, will be looking to try and clear on through. Closes up at a rate of knots through the S's and gets onto the power trying to shoot up towards turn 6. Can he make it under braking? They look towards the inside of Odell. That's going to help Alex to get through. Alex tried to put his nose forward, couldn't quite get it done. And right behind them, Dustin Wells in the Cadillac is coming through. He's now got an opportunity to fight out for second and third, and will be hoping for a stellar charge to work out for him. Brian Scott got fouled up a little too much, and unfortunately that's cost him a bit of time. Brandon Anderson, however, looking to utilize the big move from Dustin Wells and gets the pass down on the inside, takes over the lead of the race. Cameron Iverson down into second place, was watching for the GTP, did not expect Brandon Anderson to dive it down the inside and get that solid overtake. Now it's going from being chased to chasing, and will try and keep up a solid drive. This is where the momentum comes in. Brian Scott under pressure as Matt Mars once again trying to feed that nose forward, trying to see what he can do, and unfortunately it is Paul Wetline that finds himself into the pits with a meatball flag. What on earth happened to PJ as he entered down at the bottom? That's 10A into 10B. He was on the dirt already, getting out of shape, and just came out in front on the racing line in front of John Daniels. That little bit of a nudge sent him flying into the wall just before the bridge and landing up smashing the car to pieces. Just that one split second. You can't carry the momentum through, and the GT3s have got the run, especially through 10A and 10B, compared to the GTP cars. Well, ultimately, it's going to be one that will be thought about of, okay, what can we do? Paul will have the advantage of a fast repair to get himself back out onto circuit, and will want to utilize that for the championship. PJ hasn't had the easiest of times out this season, but just by getting it down to the line, we'll see a solid run to go and at least score something for the championship. Considering he's 9th in the championship, and just by finishing, he'll jump ahead of Sasha Andrick and Fares Ibrahim, who hold on to 7th and 8th position. Curtis Kenker, unfortunately, not here tonight and is watching from the sidelines. Actually watching from work, believe it or not, as he was not able to make it, but is cheering on all the friends, looking forward to seeing how they all go, but also, at the same time, watching the championship slip away from him.
Yes, indeed, as we see Paxton Frith filter through the GT3 cars. And you can see when Matt Mars and Scott will try to get past the GT3s, that downhill S section past turn 1, it's practically impossible to get past the GT3s when you're in the middle of that. So you have to be patient, you have to lift off the throttle, and that's the time where you can save the fuel and try to get back a little bit of time during the pit stops by putting in less. But yeah, that's another part of it. Through the S's, if you catch up to a train of GT3s, you just have to wait. There's no other choice. Otherwise, you risk yourself getting into an even worse situation by totaling yourself if you go for a risky move.
Now, I'm going to play a little bit of trivia. And let's see, because we got two FIA classes. The GT3 that landed up becoming the budget version when GT1 and GT2 were around. So it was a budget, more rigid rule set, and ultimately took over the mantle from the GTEs. But for FIA to recognize a corner without Googling it, how many degrees does a corner need to be to count as a corner due to the FIA rulebook that is necessary to count as for any FIA graded circuit, such as Road Atlanta is a FIA grade circuit?
Okay, so I just have to guess it because I don't really know the answer to that one, but I'm going to say this is an educated guess. 20 degrees.
Close, but no cigar. 15 degrees. So this
okay.
FIA grade 2 circuit has got a couple of corners that aren't really corners, as we did see Michael O'Dell getting a little bit out of shape heading downhill, caught onto the dirt and got very, very upset, nearly into the back of Cameron. Now, one has to wonder, these two are starting to fight out between one another, but ultimately costing them some time to Brandon Anderson, who's starting to gallop away out there in the Ford Mustang, and the Star Spangled Banner leads out the field. However, Matt Mars now under a little bit of pressure after a crucial mistake. Oh, it's a lockup trying to slow the car down. And you do see a mistake further up ahead. And that is not what you want to see. Brian Scott eventually just going back to the pits and getting himself towed out there. No real incident. Just looked like he lost the rear. And unfortunately finds himself down the order. But Matt Maher's up in second. Dustin Wells into third. Paxton fifth. Finds himself in fourth place. And Cody Deek rounds out your top 5 at this stage of the game that is still driving around of the hypercars. And Cody, after an early mistake, had to fight his way through the field. Now finds himself in a very valuable position of 5th and still keeping a solid drive at the moment. And he finds himself 5th in the championship. Just out of pure consistency and finishing here tonight, he'll jump right a po in the championship. And that means he'll look at that 4th position. Possibly, if Jacob Dick does not get into the next race, a top 3 for Paxton Frith is on the cards.
Yes, indeed. That would be very interesting as we see Eshelman going off track here. And I think it was a battle with Nigel Steely heading into the chicane. As we head into the chicane, we see Eshelman going through it just fine, but going out wide into the grass. So did Nigel Steely a little bit too, but as we see, yep, Eshelman losing a place to Steely.
Going and losing out that little bit of time and falling off at 10. Started off at 10A, tried to stay on the throttle as much as possible to come out of 10B, picked up the understeer, and that unfortunately threw him into a bit of a loop. But now our top 3, Brandon Anderson, Cameron Iverson, and Michael O'Dell find each other in tow with not too far behind Alex Baheri hoping to get a run. You can see Michael really touching the grass right before the braking zone. That's going to upset the car a little bit. He's got to be careful not to run too far wide, especially since the marbles do still hold on to the tire for at least 2 corners in these GT3s, and ultimately can cause a nightmare situation as Cameron sets the fastest lap time of the GT3s. Cody pulls into the pits, first of the hypercars to pull into the pits and get the pit stop done. But this is going to be 1 out of 2 pit stops needed to keep moving forward. And Cody, with nothing to lose, finds himself hoping for an undercut to work out in his favor. Odell getting out of shape as he came out of the S's into turn 5, really running the course there. You can pick up a 1X so easy there, but you also unsettle the car quite a bit. It is incredibly fast, but you will have to keep a very close eye on what that does. Only 20 to play with in this race, and the last thing you want to do is burn to 20, especially with 40 minutes left to go.
Mind you, I think the reason why the front engine cars seem to be the best around here is because of the curves. The Mercedes, very well known for being very good over the curves, especially around ones here at Road Atlanta. Odell's confidence in the Mercedes will be much more better around here as he goes through the S's, the curves, and you can go out wide there. You just can't touch the grass on the exit in order to get that 1X. So you can go as wide as he wants, but yes, as you mentioned, an unsettling the GT3 car will lose a bit of time, and he's 6 to 7 tenths away from Cameron Iverson right now. So he's got to watch that to make sure that he doesn't drop back even further. You can see through the S's, it's now 9 tenths of a second, and even a second now.
The Ferrari far better in and out through the corners. Michael O'Dell really going and having a solid, difficult time. And ultimately, the driver's trying to move forward. Now, a little bit of information from the pit. So what happened to Brian Scott for the driver? He races in VR, which is a ton of fun. Absolutely love it. But he's found himself with a little bit of a problem. A stutter on the screen. So for anyone that has never driven VR, we'll touch back onto that. Brandon Anderson under a bit of pressure as Cameron Iverson gets the exit out of 10B, goes side by side over the hill and into the final corner. Will have the inside line and look to get that pass, but side by side they go through a little bit of a lean on one another, and then Cameron fastest lap of the race, trying to fight for his life against Anderson. Now, quick one. If you're racing in VR, you're looking at a low FPS, roughly about 60 to 90 FPS. You find it very hard to push any higher than that due to the nature of it trying to work. But you also do land up going and pushing the PC a bit hard. He had a stutter, means that he's been completely blind, forcing him off the circuit, and unfortunately does create a little bit of nausea as well into play. So Brian Scott, due to mechanical problems, finds himself out of this race. We did see, however, Matt Mars with a crucial drive-through penalty getting handed out to him. That promotes Dustin Wells and Preston Frith up, but it does bring him closer to Cody Deek, and unfortunately will be a nightmare. So Matt Mars into the pits and parked, going and trying to get himself sorted out. Not an easy time out there. Will be thinking crucially of what he needs to do. You can get into the pits incredibly fast here, but you got to remember to try and slow the car down as quick as you can. Otherwise, you will pick up a stop-go for speeding in pit lane, which will just add to the time. And I've got a funny feeling that's what Matt Mars landed up with, and unfortunately finds himself into the pits. Dustin Wells pulls into the pits. He's the next one to consider that stop, hoping to get the undercut on Sorrentino. Paxton Frith, however, still continues on his run. And Matt Mars stationary, and it doesn't look like the driver in that car will be going and having an easy time, as he does leave pit lane, but finds himself 4th overall with no opportunity to really find out for that top 3 at the moment. Alex Bahiri keeps the pressure on Michael O'Dell, and Anderson with Iverson keep each other busy. Our top 4 in the GT3 class still keeping a solid run, but for Michael O'Dell, it will most probably go through his mind of what does he need to do to beat out the rest. In the slipstream, he can go and lift and coast a little bit. Doesn't have to be too hard on throttle, save a bit of fuel. But with the pressure of Bahiri behind him, getting off the throttle will land up in him dropping into 4th place. What risk can you take with 36 minutes and 29 seconds to go in this race to really try and see if you can get ahead of the competition, considering how tight it is? Anthony Sorrentino into the pits, our leader of the GTPs, and overall getting their pit stop done and dusted, meaning every one of the hypercars have gone through the pits, but only one of the GT3s has gotten in. Our Brazilian, Macon Gazzoni, going and pitting in on lap 16, and it was a splash and dash.
Yeah, indeed, and well, Paxton Frith coming out of the pits, and O'Dell is going to be increasingly annoyed that it came out during the S's, but Alex Berry, a bit out of shape, the wrong line through the S's, dropped back to now over a second. O'Dell, 1.3 seconds back from the 2 race leaders. The Mercedes, not being able to catch back up to the top 2 at the moment. He's dropping back even further and further away. It's incredibly tough if you're in O'Dell or Berry's situation right now, because you can see it in front of you, but if you're just a top 2, you can start by pulling away from the pack at this moment in time. And Iverson, currently in 1st place, 3 tenths ahead with the fastest lap. The Ford Mustang, the American Ford Mustang, right behind him as we head into the first corner.
You can see Michael O'Dell. Yeah, Michael O'Dell was flashing his lights to just say, listen, that was a little bit close to having a loss of time, and it has cost him crucially a lot of time to hold on to the front 2. He will not be happy about that. But this is where you've got to take that mental mind shift, try and swap it to a benefit, try and forget about what happened and focus on your race. As Nigel Steele into the pits is going to be the next of our GT3s. Out of the top 5, but will be a crucial point as John Daniels loses out a little bit of drive, going and spinning out. This is heading into 10A. Down the gears he goes, up into 2nd gear, gets on the power, has a snap underneath. So just having the car unsettle going into 10B will make things a little bit interesting for him, and unfortunately found himself drifting down the order. The fight for the lead still continues between Cameron and Brandon, but please note that Brandon's not moving off his racing line. He's not chasing down the slipstreams as hard. He's applying that pressure, but at the same time, taking a little bit of a moment to plan his strategy. And there it is, going and pulling into the pits. Odell, Bahiri, all diving through, leaving Cameron Iverson, who was trying to snap the toe early on, guessing whether a pass is going to happen or not, now finds himself out on the track, stark alone, as we do see Gustav Ferrero pulling into the pits. Gustav hoping to get a solid run here tonight to hold on to third place and see if he can try and get the leapfrog over his teammate of Macon Gazzoni to try and see if he can move himself back into second. The fight to the Brazilians for second and third in the championship coming down to a crucial call. And Jarvis, you and I are friends, and if we had to be teammates, I'll definitely look and protect your back on it. But if you're this close in the championship for Macon, Gazzoni, and Gustav, I don't know about you, I don't know about them, but all gloves are off, all's fair in love and war, and I hope to beat you, and that's probably what's going through the mind of Gustav Ferrero.
Indeed, as Odell has lost out a position to Alex Berry in the pits. Alex Berry ahead of Odell, a shorter pit stop for the Ferrari, and putting less fuel in the car, as Odell now relegated out of the podium. Once Iverson, not just Iverson, I mean Eshelman comes into the pits, as Iverson comes into the pits now, and he'll be looking to inherit the race lead and stay in the race lead when they arrive. Anderson, Berry, and Odell.
Eshelman going to have to make a call here whether he's going to get into the box or not. You've got 50% fuel tank, and depending on how much he's been saving fuel, his concentration is not going to be for first place. But if he can try and keep the momentum moving forward, quite possibly able to move on up as he does dive into the pits. He will try and get his pit stop done. Nigel Steele pushes on to the back of the Porsche of Felipe, trying to see if he can get on by. Matt Mars will be seeing these battles ahead of him and not wanting to interfere too much. As Cameron exits out, he's going to be ahead of Brandon Anderson and will be on a stellar drive. But the question comes, can he get those tires to fire up as quick as possible to keep ahead of Brandon without any mistakes? Nigel Steele looking to get the pass into 10A, couldn't quite get it done. You could see how much he had to really slow up and costing him a bit of time. A solid run from Felipe allowed him to knock Steele off Cam, and ultimately that Mustang loses out a little bit of a charge. As we do see John Daniels still in the pits for a long time, and there Jeremy Eshelman now exits pit lane. I wonder what has gone on with John Daniels that's costing him so much time in the pits and crucially affecting his championship. Considering he came in 4th coming into this round, a crucial pit stop is what he needed, and now finding himself 12th in class and still not having an easy time out there, he's going to be losing that top 4 spot, and that's just going to only help out the likes of Eshelman, who holds on to 6th, will be able to not only jump Alexander, but get a step closer to John Daniels for that 4th place. This is turning into a very interesting state of affairs. Round 10 of the championship out of 12. There's not many rounds to work with, and especially a circuit of Road Atlanta that has worked as a equalizer for many of these drivers to really move on forward. So Cameron running into a world of problems into turn 1 with the BMW. Oh, understeer creeps in, understeer goes over, and he still keeps his foot in it, does come out at the top, will pick up a slowdown, picks up a second incident for cutting the corner a little bit tight at the top of the hill. But the biggest problem comes in as he's got Alex onto the back of him and Michael Odell trying to move forward. So Brandon Anderson, Alex, and Michael Odell find each other out on track. And Cameron, who had that bigger room to play with, well, it's been swallowed up, and now he's under a second to the rest of the field.
Yes, indeed. Before, when Iverson came out of the pits, he was 2.2 seconds ahead of Brandon Anderson. So he was in a comfortable race lead, but that mistake out of T1 going out wide, which is so easy to do, has dropped him back into the top 4 again. And he's going to be under pressure. Not as much as it was before the pit stops, because, well, Brandon Anderson was right on his rear, but that was a mistake that he would have not wanted, and even more so now because he's at the back of a lapped GT3 car of, I believe it is, Ryan Peters.
Yeah, Ryan Peters will make his way through, not wanting to give it up through the S's, and it's going to be a critical drive coming out of turn 5. You can see Ryan having to take to the dirt, but it's getting busy out there as now the hypercar is coming through. Paxson having to come off the throttle, just bide his time, see if he can try and get an easier drive. Michael O'Dell losing time, but Alex Baheri keeps the pressure onto the back of Anderson, trying to close up as quick as possible as they looking to go relatively side by side, and you could see how quickly it needed to happen as Paxton got past to try and find his way through. 3 wide in this situation does become very problematic into the braking zone as the whole car lightens up into 10A, and back onto the power of 10B can be an absolute nightmare. As we've seen a couple of drivers visiting the grass off to the side, they will be figuring what's going to be the big plan here, and also taking a look at the edges of the circuit. Well, there's only one line that's going to be starting to be a crucial one. The racing line, anywhere off it, means that you're straight into the marbles and can cost yourself a bit of time, possibly cost yourself even the race, as it's all being dragged up and put out onto the circuit. The kitty litter just becoming one with the tar, and we're going from road course racing into a little bit of rallycross as Brandon Anderson gets it out of shape out of turn 5, looking to go side by side. Alex is going to have the outside line, backs out of it, rather going to focus on the undercut, trying for the inside line, couldn't quite get it done in through 5, in through 6, it's going to be a solid drive. Matt Mars tries to close up on him, but unfortunately Alex got a little bit of a wobble on the way out. It didn't quite help him, and Matt Mars managing to thread the eye of the needle. But a solid run from our competitors. But it's getting busy out there for all the classes, for all the drivers. This is not an easy situation to go through.
Yeah, indeed. And Nigel Steele is still at the back of Felipe Vieira dos Santos. This race lead for the battle for the race lead, it's still between the top 4. And, well, we've got 26.5 minutes left to go. So we're over 50% to the end of this race. I wonder if we are going to see some moves come to the end, because the next car behind is Gazzoni, who's now 11.5 seconds away. The two Brazilians of Gazzoni and Ferraro not being able to make an impression as top 4 as they were in the early races of this season. And they'll be looking to try to stay where they were a few rounds ago, P2 and P3 of the GT3 Championship. There's 2 rounds left to go after this, but it may come under threat. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be an interesting call from the drivers of what they're going to do, especially as the tank starts to lighten up yet again. They have not changed tyres, so this is now working on an old set of tyres to try and carry it through, and they would go through essentially 2 tanks of fuel, unless, and this is me putting my tinfoil hat on to see if it maybe will work, if the drivers can lift and coast enough utilizing the slipstream, it is entirely possible, but it requires conditions to be perfect for you to get a one-stop strategy. Felipe loses out the drive as immediately Nigel Steele locked in that inside line, got the pass done up into turn 5 and turn 6. So let's take a look at it. Up into turn 5, late on the anchors, turns in, and unfortunately, Felipe not having an easy time out there, a little bit close to one another, but fair racing nonetheless. And you got to say, a textbook pass with a little bit of side draft to help out. But Nigel Steele running out wide, once again, going and finding a little bit of loss of drive. Getting busy once for our leader, Anthony Sorrentino, as he had to slice through Brandon Anderson and Alex Baheri, holding on 2nd and 3rd place. But you can see now the critical drive out of the corner as Cameron gets an easy pass coming through as Sorrentino got him on the straightaway. For Alex and for Brandon, it was a little less so for them. Turn 5 was a compromising line, and that's just allowed O'Dell to once again pull himself a little bit closer, seeing what he can do to move forward. Jarvis, this is going to be won or lost in the pits. This is going to be who can keep the car out long enough to make it work, who can keep enough tire life to see it through to the end, because I I'm going to put a little bit of a thought here. With under 10 minutes to go, we're going to see critical moves being made. Hard charges, late braking, and risky moves to try and move up through the order. For Odell, he can't lose out any more positions. He has to gain time to try and hold that big gap he's got in the championship. However, for Cameron, he finds himself down in the championship, being his very first race was last week. He's the joker card here. Brandon Anderson can't lose out to Alex Baheri. He needs to try and hold on to second place to move up through the order. Alex needs to have second or first to also pull himself into this. The joker leading us out is Cameron.
Yeah, and it's even more compounded so that Cameron pitted a lap later than his competitors behind him. So he is in a very comfortable position. I don't know if you would rather be the hunter rather than the hunted, but I don't think Iverson really minds the position he's in, because he's less worried about it because Alex Berry is right on the Mustang's rear wing. Sorry, I do apologize. But yeah, I think Iverson is in a very calm position right now in the 22 minutes with that extra bit of a buffer with the fuel load. But as you can see, the Mustang goes out wide, and Brandon Anderson loses out to Alex Berry. A mistake for the Mustang with that constant pressure by Alex Berry.
Just by allowing to see the mirrors getting full and full, Anderson ran out wide, missing his brake marker. Now has to try and go back onto the hunt. Bear that in mind, Odell is hanging on to the coattails. He's waiting for this to all start unraveling, as we do see likes of Dustin Wells, second place of our GTP, starting to carve his way through. Does take a more of a cautious approach to try and get past these drivers. Keeps his foot flat now. This is where he's going to be able to make up tons of time, clearing all three of the GT3s and provide a little bit of a tow. As well, an interesting move there. Cameron did not try and hunt for that slipstream. He held his racing line, causing Alex Baheri to hold his racing line. Brandon Anderson tried to go for the attack in turn A, couldn't quite get it done, and Cameron got the poor drive. Looks down to pit lane. This is a critical move. Cameron into the pits for his second stop, leaving Alex Baheri and Brandon Anderson to fight it out for that top spot. And right on the coattails, Michael Odell. I think Cameron is looking on that undercut and is hoping that these two keep each other busy, brings Michael Odell in for a bit of company, and they both all three land up fouling each other up before they get their final pit stop of the race. And this is going to be critical, as Cameron will come out in 5th place in his class behind Macon Gazzoni and ahead of Gustav Ferrero, who's just cycling his way through. Gustav hoping to get a solid drive at the moment to move on forward. But going back to my original tinfoil hat theory, Alex, Brandon, and Michael, if they trip each other up here, they can cost time into the pits, and that's just going to play into the favor for Cameron to get that undercut. However, if these three don't foul each other up and land up working with one another, Cameron's pit stop would be all for naught.
Yeah. Interesting, as Anderson goes into the pits. So now we see another pitter in the top 4 coming into the pits. Alex Berry and Odell continue on once again. This is interesting. I don't know who to pick here for who has the advantage. What I'm thinking actually for Iverson's pit stop in his first one, because he came out so far ahead, which was about 2.2 seconds, he might have put less fuel in the car, knowing that he would have to stop anyway for the second stop. As we see, Cameron Iverson come through the final corner. Anderson comes out of the pits now. Let's see how these two are original race leaders, and Cameron Iverson goes through first place, goes ahead of Anderson by a very, very comfortable margin. It's now 3.5 seconds.
Well, a solid run on his part as Matt Mars still in pit lane. A long pit stop for Matt Mars, unfortunately. And I got to suspect there's something that might have happened to Matt Mars's car that is causing that pit stop just to start building up. Can't see any major damage from that point of view, but he was trying to get past the Vice City of Timothy Dunn, locked it up, went straight on, and unfortunately found himself going off circuit and retiring the car. Matt Mars, after locking up, getting a mistake, finds himself calling it race done and is out of the running. So yet another GTP dropping out of it, making it 3. Brian Scott, Paul Wetline, and Michael Odell out of the race. John Daniels still out on circuit in 12th position, trying to just get a bit of momentum in his GT3. But this is going to play into the favor of our GT3 drivers, because now Alex Baheri, Lee is in the top 5 of the entirety of the field. If you want to talk about consistency moving you up through the order, well, our GT3 is finding that little bit of consistency puts him into the top 5. And what better way to go and say farewell to round 10 and look towards round 11 and 12 coming up than going and taking a win here. So Alex has got to really push as hard as he can to make this work. Otherwise, he finds himself in a world of hurt as Cody Deek now pulls into the pits to get his pit stop done and dusted. Alex Baheri goes on a little bit longer and ultimately trying to see if he can really just make it work. Alex is keeping a very close eye on Michael Odell. Those two are working off each other's strategy instead of their own. Macon Gazzoni finds himself in 3rd place, but he's yet to do his second pit stop, with Cameron Iverson holding on to 4th place in class. Will be more than happy to just pile the pressure on. But if Macon Gazzoni, Michael Odell, and Alex Baheri are able to save that little bit of fuel and see it through to the end, well, Cameron took the gamble that might not have paid off. Brandon Anderson, who pitted a lap later, finds himself behind Gustav Ferreira, and we'll have to see what he can do to move on forward. Not going to be an easy drive, but will need some critical thinking here, as John Daniels going side by side with the Ford Mustang gets on past Ryan Peters, not putting up too much of a fight there against the Aston Martin. But now John Daniels is going to provide the tow for Ryan Peters to get pulled along. And considering Ryan holds 10th and John Daniels holds 12th overall, John is only just unlapping himself and not finding that little bit of an easy run.
They're continuing on. Barry and Odell choosing to go for a large overcut rather than Iverson's and Anderson's strategy. This is going to be interesting. I mean, if we take a look at the gap between the leader to everybody else, well, it's currently 29.3 seconds between Alex Berry and Iverson. 33 seconds between Berry and Iverson and Anderson, 29 and 33 respectively. So, depending on how long they go for a pit stop, if you go to as long as you possibly can, you can pit in for less fuel. It's practically splash and dash to the end of the race, which it would be with about 15 to 10 minutes left to go. The overcut generally in these GT3 races is the more popular strategy, and that's what Alex Berry and Odell are going for.
It's going to be one to think about, and I'm going to put a little bit of educational guess here that these drivers are using roughly between 3 liters if you're keeping it calm to 3.5 liters per lap. And that's going to be a critical point on the drive, because if you start working it out, these drivers are working on a 50% tank limit using 3.5 liters. Even if you get 3 liters, you're going to be cutting it very, very fine, and ultimately find themselves down the order. So that's just a bit of a guess of how much fuel they would be using per lap. Macon Gazzoni finds himself into the pits and getting his pit stop done and dusted. That's going to promote Cameron up into 3rd position as he slowly ticks yet another box here.
Yep, indeed. Gustavo Ferraro also joining Gazzoni into the pits. Both teammates, also Dustin Wells coming into the pits as well. So both Apex teammates coming into the pits. at the same time. Remember that Gazzoni was one of the very first pitters in GT3, and he's managed to get to this far with 14 minutes left to go. Do we fear, is there any chance that these drivers can go to the end? I don't know. Maybe I'm putting my conspiracy hats on.
I'm doing some math in the background, and my school will be very happy that I'm doing a bit of math, because 50% fuel limit in the Mercedes is 60 liters. Now, that is going to be the main game plan for them. They've got to have to critically think about it, and ultimately how far they're going to work through. If you're using roughly 3.5 liters in this race, well, drivers are going to have to think about their time. So I'm doing a bit of math in my head at the moment to try and work out where exactly they can go and how long they can actually go in this race. I'm doing some math in the background here.
You're good.
Just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Give me 2 minutes and I should come with an answer of how close it's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see, as indeed Barry and Odell heading through to the end of another lap as Anthony Sorrentino, our GTP race leader. We haven't talked about Anthony Sorrentino and the GTPs in such a long time because the GT3 race battles has been very interesting, as Odell does come in for a pit stop. Odell does come in for a pit stop in P2. And now Cameron Iverson on the back stretch. Let's see where the relations come out at the end of it. Anderson 4.3 seconds back from Iverson. Berry continues on for another lap. Berry winning in GTP, has got strong GTP pace. Will be looking to translate it here in GT3 for his debut win in this class. Alex Berry has already won this season in the GTP, in the Ferrari 499P, in the Ferrari 296 GT3. He's in a very good chance here as Cameron Iverson heading through the start-finish straight gets ahead of Michael Odell. But the question is, does Brandon Anderson do that? No. No, he doesn't. Odell gets ahead of the Mustang.
So a bit of a run. Cameron holds on to second. Michael Odell into third, trying to push on that a little bit further. Each of the drivers thinking of about crucial lap times here of what they can do to make it work. How can they stay ahead of the pack and ultimately try and hold on to a monumental run? You're looking at a solid run for each of these drivers, trying to figure out what they can do to hold on to the lead of the race. But working out roughly, you're going to do 47 laps total on a to try and do the strategy. You're going to need a total of 165 liters in the race, with your final bit of fueling is going to be just under 50 liters. You're going to have to do a fuel stop.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting around it. You're going to have to do a fuel. Alex, even at trying to pull 3 liters, is going to find life a little bit more difficult for him, as he will still need to get that second pit stop. There is no way to go on a one-stop strategy here. But that second stop, he can bring it close to the timer. He can bring it right down to the next 5 minutes of this race to get that car sorted out. So based on that, Alex Baheri needs to try and open up a gap of roughly 38 secon's away from Cameron Iverson to make it work. At current, he's only he's 29 seconds ahead. So he needs a little bit more power. He needs a little bit more of a run. He needs to have 38, if possible, go for 40 to make sure that you clear it through. But he's got to run that clock. He's got to run 3 liters. He cannot run any higher than 3 liters. Even 3.2 is way too much, which means it's going to be a lot of lift and coast heading into the S's on the way down, but also into 10A, 10B, try and coast your way through them, feed the power back on. Look at every opportunity to not utilize that throttle. Try and come off it as much as possible. And when you're catching up to a bit of traffic, like what we saw with Macon, with our Mustangs further up the road, well, he's going to have to pull himself a bit closer to Gustav Ferreira. Brandon Anderson, who holds on to 4th position, sees Michael O'Dell and is hunting tooth and nail to try and see if he can close up that distance. He is absolutely desperate to get it done and dusted, and will be thinking, right, what do I need to do to make this work? What do I need to do to close up that gap and really pull myself in for the race here? While Michael O'Dell will be losing crucial points in the championship if he falls down into 4th and that gap starts to shrink for the top 3 positions. And this close into the end of the championship is something you really don't want to have. Now, Iverson, 30 seconds behind Alex Beheri. He needs a little bit more time there, but you can see that he's starting to try and track a little bit of movement of how he can go through. Cameron Iverson on that last lap did a 1:18.10, which was his personal best for the second stint. His best lap time was 1:17.8, but that 1:18 is slower than both Alex Beheri, Michael O'Dell, and Brandon Anderson. So he's matching times roughly with Felipe Verio de Santos in 5th position. Well, our GTPs have all completed and racing down to the wire. There's tons of gaps between them. Brandon Anderson, Michael O'Dell find each other out on track, but Alex Beheri will need to utilize every slipstream, and he couldn't pull it through. 3.5 liters was being utilized in this race, and unfortunately finds himself going down pit lane. But does he have enough time to really get out for the fight? Because Cameron is going to be slightly ahead of him by the end of this pit stop. He'll be slightly ahead, and it means Beheri's going to have to keep his foot hard on the throttle to try and get that lead back. As we do see Anderson off into the dirt, that promotes back for the likes of Michael O'Dell. He does come immediately back into the front of Paxton Frith. So Beheri, coming out of pit lane, is going to find a little bit of a difficult time here, because as they swing around turn 1, it's going to be Cameron who's got the power, and a huge upset coming in. Alex holds on to 1st place with Cameron in 2nd. They're going to be pushing each other down to the wire. Looking at that pit stop time, Alex Beheri was stopped in the box for 7.9 seconds. Cameron, 6.7. And I wonder if Cameron put in less fuel. He short-fueled that car and is worried about running out of juice in it. So he's hoping that the jungle juice that's currently sitting in that car is going to carry him through to the end. But he has to be careful on his fuel per lap as they now trying to get past the McLaren of Timothy Dunn. That beautiful Vice City color scheme that's on it. That baby blue, the turquoise with a bit of pink stands out the most. Brandon Anderson and Michael O'Dell, this was the fight into 10A. Looks down the inside, late on the brakes, overshoots the corner, couldn't slow it down under engine braking. You can see immediately straighten up the steering, try to bring himself back up, and he does come in and around Paxton Frith, who runs out a bit wide immediately. That allowed Dustin Wells to close up. So Dustin in 2nd, Paxton holds on to 3rd, and our top 2 managing to overtake everyone in their class as well. So a solid run there, but Cameron is under pressure. Depending on his fuel situation at the moment, this is either going to work in his favor or be an absolutely brutal run, because Beheri has got an extra lap in that tank.
You see that, but Cameron is leaving no prisoners around this racetrack right now. He's faster. Well, with Alex Beheri's cooldown tires, we'll see. But you can see that the BMW is taking no prisoners in terms of staying calmly behind him, because he's constantly pushing behind it. Let's have a listen to Cameron as he heads into 10A, 10B, and see if he lifts and coasts at the braking point.
Into 6th gear.
No, there's no lift and coast there.
No, not at all. He's hard on the power all the way through, and you can see the counter steer coming into play And just taking a look over to the virtual grandstands, so everyone standing up watching this incredible fight out for first in the GT3 class between the two. Well, it's going to be a big look for Cameron down on the inside, but couldn't quite get it done. Our grandstands are even reporting how hot it is out there, and, well, putting to the fact and for the eagle-eyed viewers out on the virtual grandstands, going and pointing out this is going to be a difficult one. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Old set of tires plus heat, not what you want to have out on track. It is blistering out there, and at the moment, Cameron is on a hard charge, but he can also use a little too much fuel in that tank. Remember, he's short fuel to try and make it work, but now finds himself in a critical position to try and move forward. We're looking at 21 degrees Celsius air temperature. The track has gone way up beyond that, and now it's going to be who can be the best on the brakes. Alex defends to the inside line as Cameron holds the outside. Side by side they go with the side draft coming into play, and a big look as Cameron keeps his nose forward, and Alex Berry loses it.
Alex Berry with a spin out fighting with his rival Iverson, and Odell will get past Alex Berry as well. Let's get a replay.
So Michael Odell to second place on a crucial run, and there was the slip. Alex tried his luck on that outside. We were talking about the marbles that are building up off the racing line. Well, Alex Berry found it as he was heading out of 10B. So into 10A, he got the run, hooked it to the left-hand side. But here comes the marbles as he leans across, and oh man, just the rear end stepping out underneath him. And it's going to be an easy run for Michael Odell over the top of the hill. And with Alex Berry not able to get that little bit of drive, now finds himself into the clutches of Brandon Anderson. So, quick look coming through 10A. No contact, no contact. It was a slip on both their parts. You could see even Cameron had to counter steer to try and keep his car pointing straight. But this has just changed up everything. From a solid plan for Alex Berry, trying to save that little bit of fuel, Cameron leaned the pressure on and ultimately got the better of him. Brandon Anderson now trying his run on the outside, will find the marbles, and it was a poor exit for the Ferrari, heading out of 10B all the way down through 11 into 12, and it's a flat on the gas. The Mustang gets the lead, Frog ahead, but now Alex down into 4th. Will want to try and claw his way back. 1 minute and 13 seconds to go. Anthony Sorrentino, Dustin Wells, Paxton 5th, and Cody Deek hold on to the top 4 for the hypercars. Cameron Iverson, Michael Odell, Brandon Anderson, Alex Berry, Macon Gazzoni, Jeremy Eshelman, Nigel Steele, Gustav Ferrero. 9th position, Felipe Vera de Santos. Timothy Dunn holds on to the top 10. Ryan Peters still out there in the Ford Mustang in 11th. And John Daniels circulating in 12th position. Our drivers giving it everything they can. But here is the race leader on the final lap. Whoever he overtakes now will mean they have no more laps in the race. However, if they don't get round and... Oh, that's Michael Odell with damage to the nose. Michael Odell with major damage.
Yeah, as we have exiting out of here, the Mercedes onto the grass and heading into the wall on what would be the second to last lap of this race, and Odell has now lost the podium here in the final laps of racing. Absolute insanity, but take it away as Anthony Sorrentino will come across the line.
Sorrentino with Cody Deek ahead of him will come around 2 corners, 1 corner, flashing the lights. Around turn 12, it's going to be Anthony Sorrentino taking the win for the GTP class, extending his lead in the championship. And from start to finish, no worries at all. However, big problem comes in. Cameron's got 1 more lap left in his drive, and he's got to try and see it through. How much fuel has that GT3 got to try and carry the momentum? Anderson 4 seconds back. Berry right onto the back of him. So for Iverson, it's a take it easy. Just lift and coast. Protect that little bit of fuel that you got left in the tank. He flashes his lights. He's excited. He's happy on this.
I don't think he's worried at all. I think he's got enough to get to the end. He's even weaving. I don't think he's not troubled in the slightest here. As he heads into the final couple of corners now, braking. No simple
He's
signs.
flashing.
Yep, he's good.
He's flashing. He's excited. But I wouldn't get too overconfident. We have seen mistakes creep out at the last. But Cameron kept it clean, kept it going. Round the final corner. Will take the victory here. A solid run for him. John Daniels. Oh, a little bit of a clip with John Daniels at the line there. And it was a stellar result coming in for Brandon Anderson as he comes across the line. Alex Bahari, unfortunately, that little bit of a slip coming out of 10A cost him the podium and finds himself down the order. Michael O'Dell finishes up in 4th place. Bit of frustration on his part. Macon Gazzoni, Nigel Steele, Gustav Ferrero, Felipe Veria de Santos will be the next to come through. What a race. What a bit of trial and tribulations for some, but an incredible race for others. And I know one driver that's going to be unhappy about his results, and that's going to be Alex Bahari, who will come back in round 11. Anthony Sorrentino, however, will be cementing his win for the season, that's for certain. 362 points, add another win on it. There is no mathematical chance for Dustin Wells, Jacob Dick, Ryder Poe, Paxton Frith, anyone to catch him. And I'm going to say it here. I'm going to put my hand on the block, and you can chop it off if I'm wrong. But it's Anthony Sorrentino will take the victory here for the FMA World Endurance Championship. And already burning it down. He's going to be happy on that one. What a stellar result. And when we get those provisional results coming up, it'll just run through who finished where. But Anthony, congratulations on becoming the FMA World Endurance Champion here for 2026.
Well done to him. It's been a consistent. He's turned up to the majority of the rounds. In fact, before this round even started, Sorrentino was talking about internet issues, so it was perceived that he wouldn't be able to make it, but ever since then, no issues whatsoever, keeping the race lead and dominating with 29 seconds gap between himself and second. It's a champion's drive, isn't it?
Well, an absolutely incredible one. 3 wins in the season, 10 races, and all 10, he's kept himself consistently in the top 5, with 3 of those 10 going towards a solid victory. An absolute manic run for the driver, and what an incredible run. So, quick run through of who is where. It's Anthony Sorrentino, Dustin Wells, and Paxton Frith, with Cody Deek finishing up in 4th place. Cameron Iverson will take the victory in GT3 after a stellar run. Unfortunately, we did lose out Matt Mars, Brian Scott, and Paul Wetline out of our GTP class. It's Cameron Iverson who will take the win in the GT3, with Brandon Anderson in 2nd place. Alex Bahari, Michael O'Dell, Macon Gazzoni, Nigel Steele, Gustav Ferrero, Felipe Veria de Santos will take up 8th. Jeremy Eshelman in 9th. Timothy Dunn in 10th. 11th goes to Ryan Peters, and John Daniels will take up that 12th position. What an incredible race, Jarvis. And I've got to say, I can't wait to chat to the winners on an incredible run. And, well, we've got to kick things off with our GT3s to go and celebrate the win. Cameron Iverson is going to be on the box. And let's have a chat to him. Cameron, welcome to the commentary box. A victory for the BMW out on track. A hard-fought fight. How are you feeling on that one?
Yeah, feeling really good. That was I built the setup from scratch. I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd time I've done that. Me and my team, Factor Sim Racing, we've been getting really big into the Pi tool and looking at data. So it's just kind of a trial run for next week's IMSA Endurance. So I figured I would throw something together in about half an hour during practice, see what it could do, and it felt pretty good.
Now, with that being said, we're looking at fuel calculations. That final stint of yours was a bit shorter on fuel limits. What was the fuel looking like in the tank, considering at one stage of the game you were lifting and coasting slightly?
Yeah, I had 3 laps extra fuel still at the end, so I was in a really good spot. Just not quite close enough. I think I was about 2 laps short from being able to make it on one stop. So I started lifting, coasting. I let Brandon by, and I realized that we couldn't make it, so tried to dig hard a little bit there. And first pit stop, and then I wasn't planning on pitting that early to second pit stop, but Alex got in the back of me, and it was either wreck my car or just slide it into the pits. So I figured it was perfect time to slide into the pits, and I got a really good entry there. I think I was like 3 seconds faster to the pit lane than most of the other guys, except for Alex. So it kind of helped me out there, and just tried to dig, and had a little bit of scary moment at the first pit stop because my black box broke and I couldn't uncheck my tires. So you guys probably saw I almost wrecked myself a couple times trying to get my black box to work, but finally got it working, and yeah, brought it home.
Absolutely stellar results, and Road Atlanta definitely coming into play. How was the traffic out there with the hypercars? It looked a bit busy when they were coming through and you were trying to keep into your own fights. How was it handling that traffic charging on through?
The traffic wasn't too bad. I trimmed my car a little bit too much. I think dirty air was a little rough in certain places, but I was able to hang on to it for the most part. But no, traffic wasn't as bad as Indy, I would say. So I mean, that's a plus, and some great racing. I feel bad for Alex. There was like 5 feet between our cars, and he got net coded sideways. So that I feel really bad for him. That would have been a great battle, but net coded other ideas, I guess. So that really sucks.
Lady Luck was just not in the pits there, and unfortunately was the case. But more fortunately for you, going and picking up the win here tonight. Anything you would like to say to all the partners here at FMA, to all the drivers and teams, and most importantly to the fans watching from the grandstands, just cheering on from the sidelines again to see the epic battles out on track and your victory here at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, first and foremost, Jordan Probst, Factor Sim Racing, for being behind me and the whole team all the time and supporting us, and pushing me to learn how to make the setups with him. Tim Dunn has been a good buddy. He almost screwed me up there at the end in traffic, but we made it work. Thank you, Tim. That was scary. Yeah, you guys for the broadcast as always, and all the league admins and owners for putting it on.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Cameron, we look forward to seeing you heading into round 11, carrying the momentum from the win here, and it's going to be a great one. Enjoy the evening and enjoy the celebrations on your victory.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Cameron Allison going and taking the win here tonight, and a solid run for him. But Jarvis managing to catch up with Paxton Frith, who came third in the Hypers.
Paxton Frith, welcome to the interview pen, P3 in GTP, and, well, from your side, navigating, trying to figure out the way past the GT3 traffic, talk to me about your race from your end.
Definitely didn't have the pace to probably be P3, but fortunate. So I think qualified P5 or even 6 maybe, but fortunate to out-survive Cody D, Matt Mars, and Brian Scott. They drove really well. Matt scared me in that second half of the race, honestly. He got pretty close, but just kept the car clean enough, turned laps, and made it to the end.
Yeah, so race of attrition, because Brian Scott, with problems with his VR headset, retired from the race. Matt Mars with a long pit stop as well. It was a race of attrition from your side. What did you need to do to be consistent, get to the end of the 60 minutes, and take some good points away from this race?
Yeah, certainly with Road Atlanta particularly, like getting a rhythm, but it's so easy to overstep and think you have a little more in the car than you do. So it's just constantly checking back in with myself throughout the race, like, okay, where's the car feel? Am I overstepping? And then I'm manipulating traction control throughout the race to be, okay, I want to have a little more, I want to have a little less, just to give myself some margin.
Indeed. You're currently 5th place, well, before this race, 5th place in the driver's standings. Not too far away from Ryder Poe and Jacob Dick. You certainly have a chance to climb ahead of them if they don't turn up for the last 2 rounds. Sebring and Le Mans are next. What do you need to do to the end of the season to try to get some good points in order to be to be up there in terms of the championship in GTP?
It seems like showing up is the most important thing right now. I was fortunate both Jacob and Ryder couldn't make it tonight. I think last week Ryder couldn't make it. So definitely show up and finish. These third, fourths, fifths will do a lot if they don't make it. Me still not completing the race doesn't help me, even if I do show up.
And finally, to the people into the virtual grandstands, to FMA and its staff members, and also to our sponsors, and also to anybody that you would like to shout out, is there anybody that you would like to give a little bit of a word for?
Yes, firstly to Racers Nexus, thank you guys for being here. It's great for family and friends to be able to watch. We appreciate it. And Matt Mars and Chase Matsko for putting on a fantastic league multiple days a week. Appreciate all the work they do. And family always watching, supporting, giving hoorays on good finishes.
Thank you very much. Paxton Frith, P3 in GTP after 60 minutes of Road Atlanta. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you both.
Solid result on the way through, but I've managed to catch up with our second place in the GTPs. It's Dustin Wells. Dustin, welcome to the commentary box. This time not in the Wendy's colours, but managing to find a second place. How are you feeling after that race?
Heartbroken, but second place, you can't argue with it. I'm happy, but heartbroken.
We saw a few critical moments where the car wasn't quite working with you. Some major lockups coming into play, some difficult overtakes. How was it out on track, especially with the heat starting to take a bit of a toll on all the tires?
Out on track, bro. Road Atlanta's a blast. I'll be honest with you. No matter what car you're in, dealing with traffic, bro, you just gotta give them the respect, let them know, like, hey, I ain't coming in. And then on the straights, just let them choose their lane and go. Other than that, GTP-wise, it was rough, not going to lie. That was the first time I did a triple stint on not changing tires. So it was fun. It always is at Road Atlanta.
With that being said, you've managed to bag a good set of points going and opening up the gap for second place in the championship. What's the feel getting yourself ready, heading into the next 2 rounds to try and maintain a solid run for the championship, to hold on to the silver, while Jacob, Dick, Radapo, Paxton Frith all trying to fight their way back into it and seeing if they can try and usurp the purple and black Cadillac?
It's going to be fun. Sebring's going to be an interesting race no matter what. I just need Sarantino to not show up. That would be phenomenal, and I could race with no stress. But other than that, everyone is fully capable of catching back up. I'll be honest with you. I believe in all the people that do show up and race that they can try and come get second.
Well, a stellar result nonetheless, and a completely awesome one. One more question before we round off for you, but what on earth happened to Wendy? Has she gone missing? Do we need to go and find her?
Look, man, I'll be honest with you. Road Atlanta is, it was my first endurance race. I went to go see it in 24 when this Cadillac that I'm running won. So that's why I said I was heartbroken. I really wanted to win in the Cadillac that I saw won. Other than that, maybe Wendy's comes back at Sebring and definitely comes back at Le Mans.
Regardless, I think you've done the colours proud to even put it in second place with the amount of hard work out there. You've done it justice. And once again, congratulations on that second place, managing to open up a little bit more room into the championship as well, holding on to second. But before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations, anything you'd like to say to the entire grid of FMA and to everyone of the Racer Nexus Virtual Grandstand?
Well, I'm going to start off with one. Sarantino, you're a liar. Number two, I want to say thank you to my brother, his sons, my friends and family, and most of all, Aaron and the Big Cheese. Sorry it wasn't a win, but hey, still burned it down in Tenay.
Still burned it down, got a solid result. Well done, Dustin. And we look forward to seeing you heading out to Sebring.
Yes, sir. See you guys then.
Dustin Wells taking second place in the Cadillac and a phenomenal drive. But it's Jarvis Coyd who's managed to catch up with our overall winner and our winner of the GTP class, Anthony Sorrentino.
Anthony Sorrentino in the Ferrari for this week, taking the win once again after what, at the start of this event, was uncertainty about your internet. But coming into this race, taking pole position, leading the race, 29-second gap, a champion's drive. Talk me through it.
Well, first I want to give a shout out to Linksys for making a pretty remarkable router that resets in like a minute. Because I reset my router with like 5 minutes left in qualifying, and I just made it in. So I know Wells thought the Undertaker was joining the ring when I came into qualifying there, so that felt good. But no, I mean it was a pretty leisurely drive through Road Atlanta. It felt like just had to survive turn 1, lap 1, and then it just kind of settled into a groove.
So at the end of it, I mean, Road Atlanta, especially through the S's, there's a lot of traffic, especially if you're behind a GT3. There's not much passes. What did you need to do to stay calm? And was it just about keeping yourself composed behind the traffic?
Well, I mean, Road Atlanta, through the S's, there's basically 1 through, was it 5? There's no passing. So I just kind of, if I was behind a GT3, I kind of just turned into a GT3 for that section of the track. And then when I found a good opportunity, I would pass. And everyone was pretty nice about getting on my way once there was room. So just patience at this track is key.
So I just wanted to make sure this, because you've won here today with 2 rounds left to go, and we started to say provisionally that you might be the champion. However, I'm not too sure with the point structure if that's actually true or not.
According to ChatGPT earlier this week, I think the number I have to hit is 416.
Right.
And so with the win today, a clinch in Sebring is like, well, I'm not going to jinx it, but Sebring would be the clinch.
I see. Okay. So what do you need to do at Sebring then?
Have a really compliant setup for one, because it's a bouncy. Pick the right car. I'm just going for that five wins and 5 GTPs. So it's BMW or Caddy at Sebring, which is, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But it's just I don't know if it's rain either. I keep hearing.
Right.
I think GT3 is rain. So I don't know. Just go out there and hope Alex Berry's not there. Would be great. And even then, if just finishing second, I think I still got it. So. Would be nice to win, though.
From breaking Dustin Wells' heart for you arriving here today, the mere presence made him brokenhearted. Did
he say anything about it?
He said it on the interview pen that he was heartbroken by but at the start of the interview. But regardless, is there anything that you would like to say to the people of the virtual grandstands, the people watching, FMA and its staff members, the sponsors, and of course your team? Anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
The Warp Esports guys, as always. The FMA guys. It's sad that this series is going to be, I think, sunset, but it's been fun. Hopefully, there's another prototype series coming out. I think there's Friday nights, or that's GT and GT3. But love prototypes. Shout out to you guys for the call and being up super early in the morning for a bunch of video games. That's awesome. See everyone in Sebring.
Thank you very much. That was Anthony Sorrentino, pole position and win here today. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, with that being said, we have to say farewell to Sebring, to Road Atlanta as we head over to Sebring. Jarvis, any closing thoughts from your side before we say farewell to our insane competitors, to the incredible virtual grandstands, and also just as we've getting closer to the end of this championship?
This is a brilliant championship. Prototypes and GT3s. It's the multi-class classic, and well, it's shown up with a wonderful mix-up of strategy in GT3, a champion's drive so far with Anthony Sorrentino. Let's see what he can do at Sebring. But these final 3 races are classic, and I can't wait to see our drivers tackle Sebring and Le Mans for basically traditions stand.
It's going to be an incredible one. It's going to be an exciting one, and you can keep up to date with all the racing happening here on the Races Nexus channel. A big shout out to our FMA World Endurance Challenge for the incredible race. Big thanks to all the FMA sponsors as well for putting on the show, and also having all the drivers getting a bit of fun. To all the teams, to all the drivers, and all the sanity. If you want to keep up to date with some incredible racing, whether you're a big fan of oval, road, or dirt, we've got it here on the Racer Nexus channel. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the bell notification icon. Leave a like and let us know, what do you think is going to be the next car that Sorrentino is going to be jumping into at Sebring? From Jarvis Coyd, who's been the producer and going and helping out with commentary, big thank you to Jarvis, and myself, Stephen Koenig, would like to say thank you to you, the incredible fans out in the virtual grandstand, and a big thank you to our partners here at Racer Nexus, Apex Sim Racing and Track Cam for Gourmet. We'll see you on August 27th for the next round of the FMA World Endurance Challenge, and like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.